Now we get to adrenaline. So adrenaline is the British term for the word. In America, they call it epinephrine. And adrenaline is the main form in the body. In the nervous system, it's called noradrenaline or norepinephrine. So it's usually called NE, and the transport is called NET. So adrenaline is made out of dopamine. It's a stimulatory hormone. It's exactly what you think it is. It is the main driver of anxiety in communication in the brain. It drives the amygdala, the central part of the brain that's a fight or flight kind of monitor. It drives it toward vigilance. GABA inhibits it. So GABA and adrenaline work in opposing fashions toward anxiety. The reason why they sometimes, so maybe I should mention
So low adrenaline.
So low adrenaline is similar to the low dopamine feeling, but more extreme and less hedonically affected. So it's not the feeling of anhedonia, but the feeling of melancholy, lack of energy, lack of laziness even sometimes. Some people are genuinely lazy or there's something else going on. Some people literally do not have enough stimulatory signaling to get stuff done. And if you give them caffeine or ephedrine or noradrenaline or clenbuterol, they suddenly get stuff done. So that's why they consider that a pathology. Now, some people who are melancholically depressed, which means they don't have depression without anxiety, when you give them more adrenergic signaling, they just don't seem to be depressed anymore. So that's why psychiatrists discovered that, interesting, if we inhibit the reuptake of serotonin, so serotonin was the original thing. They discovered inhibiting originally there were tricyclic antidepressants, there were many other kinds of antidepressants, but SSRIs were the most functional. Originally it was thought because of the serotonin hypothesis of depression. Later they thought it's maybe due to neurogenesis, but they find that some people benefit when you inhibit the reuptake also of noradrenaline, and they get lifted out of this melancholic depression. So they added SNRIs originally. Now what this is a dopamine, noradrenaline, and serotonin reuptake inhibitor. Why do some not include dopamine? The main reason is the concern of addictive behavior, developing anxiety.
Wait, let's finish.
Yeah, I'm almost done with what I'm saying. Sorry, I know I didn't continue. But the concern with dopamine is the fear that they may end up with addictive tendencies. They may end up with anxiety. Some people end up with anxiety because dopamine and adrenaline, you have too much, maybe potentially too much stimulatory activity for your cognitive architecture. There are so many genes that affect how these systems work that all of us are a little bit different. And we talked about before, like drugs that monoamine oxidase inhibitors that inhibit the degradation of these hormones. That's another way you could approach it. Depending on your cognitive architecture, you might find physically better benefits from one or the other, or a combination. But okay, so high adrenaline levels, the thing you're going to notice is that your heart rate, so noradrenaline comes with adrenaline sometimes. So if your noradrenaline is very high, your heart rate will be elevated also. You'll get, and by the way, dopamine does this too. It'll constrict your blood vessels also. The feeling is hypervigilance. Being highly stimulated, having a high thermic effect in your body. If you have very high adrenergic signaling or disrupted what they call sympathetic nervous system, that's a kind of state of your nervous system that is fight or flight. If that's disrupted, you'll end up clearly with circadian rhythm issues. You'll definitely have issues sleeping. This is going to be one of the main signs. Falling asleep. You may end up actually tired during the day and falling asleep at night because you have, not falling asleep at night because you have dysregulated adrenaline signaling happening at night. It's thought to be that like sleep onset and sleep maintenance insomnia both occur due to adrenaline signaling that's dysregulated happening later in the day. Adrenaline is just what you think it would be. If you drink a lot of coffee and you shake and you get anxious, that's that feeling. Blocking the adenosine receptors raises adrenaline signaling in the body. And that feeling in the brain is this.
And okay, sleep, and then I guess because of the sleep problems, basically all the side effects that come along with sleep problems that are downstairs.
Oh yeah, it's very severe. You can end up with real lot of it. I get a lot of consultation.
So if you, what if like you have a little bit extra adrenaline, and is there some
basically the issue with having too much adrenaline or too little is this: laziness and anxiety. So if you're someone prone to anxiety, if you notice you're having anxiety, then you have the adrenaline. Now it's easy to deal with this because of beta blockers with this drug.
Yeah.
And you need to take a beta blocker with this drug because the drug does slightly raise heart rate and blood pressure because of the dopaminergic and noradrenergic activity. As I mentioned before, there are studies using the beta blocker metoprolol to inhibit this. They call it Tesomet. Nebivolol is a better option, enters the brain very easily, and also controls the heart rhythm for a 24-hour period and also dilates blood vessels through nitric oxide synthase. So you already have that there, so it shouldn't be a major issue with tesofensine. The issue will be the dopaminergic signaling problem.
Yeah, so these two I understand. We're gonna go talk a little bit more about it, but the adrenaline, like the noradrenaline, I can see how in some people increasing, like there's a lot of people out there that are really like they need a kick in the pants, I call it, right? Some energy, and for them, some additional adrenaline could be helpful. But for those of us who have normal adrenaline, and we boost the adrenaline by 20%, is this where any of the benefits of tesofensine come, other than increased metabolism for calorie burning? Like, is
No.
there some mental benefit to it, or
There is, noradrenaline improves speed of reaction speed and various other things. But I know what he's trying to get to. But there were some things. So if you have a very functioning dopamine system, there's no reason to increase it. I mean, there could be a reason to manipulate it, but not increase it on baseline. Manipulate it because you're trying to literally hack your biology. Like, you want to make yourself feel dopamine when you do something that you normally wouldn't like. So that makes sense. But if everything here is functioning well, you wouldn't really do anything except the serotonergic signal, wherever it is. Because that may protect your cells from cell attrition, protect you from neurodegenerative disease. This lowers inflammation in the brain. So this is like sort of potentially, even people with healthy functioning brains may want to take it as a longevity drug for your brain. On the other hand, the dopamine thing, I mean, what I'm saying is basically, if you have a perfectly functioning dopamine system, this will make it a little bit harder to sleep, make you a little bit more stimulated, and may not be ideal for you. But most people, I don't think they complain with having a great dopamine system, or they don't feel like it does. The adrenaline thing, I understand what you mean. So basically, it's this: if your adrenaline goes to the problem with a lot of stimulants, like dextroamphetamine and amphetamine, the reason why I like dextroamphetamine is it causes more dopaminergic activity with less stimulatory activity. In fact, Ritalin is the same way. The two isomers of Ritalin, one of them causes more adrenergic activity. The thing is this: the adrenergic activity will make you, like coffee, sort of be ready to focus, ready to work. But it doesn't inspire that excitement in the brain, that curiosity, that slight euphoria that really makes you want to engage mentally with something. So what I've noticed more than anything else is that people using these drugs are using them as too stimulatory with too little dopaminergic effect. So what I've been telling people is, like, try to accentuate the drug's dopaminergic effect, so use less of the drug and get more out of it without that anxiety and stuff. Because over time, if you take like a long-acting Ritalin like Concerta and you're prone to anxiety, over a period of months you may develop an anxiety disorder. Seriously. So anyway, those are my thoughts.
So when I'm trying to pinpoint my perfect tesofensine dosage, and I'm trying to be aware of the symptoms of too high of any one of these neurotransmitters due to combining it with some other supplement. For example, if I take tesofensine and I take Ritalin, then dopamine's going to go much higher, right? Because it's going to be synergistic together.
Yeah, okay, so let's be comprehensive. So definitely don't, I have taken the drug with the dopaminergic drug, even though I don't do it very often, but I'm very resilient. You may end up in an odd situation. This is blocking the reuptake 65% or so of the dopamine system. If you did something, maybe you would use like tyrosine, uridine monophosphate, something like that. You would not really want to use a dopaminergic drug like amphetamine, Adderall, or something in addition to this, because you're getting a lot of dopaminergic activity. Basically, the Adderall, amphetamine causes you to transmit dopamine, unlike Ritalin. So you're transmitting and not holding it. Ritalin would like sort of more inhibit the total reuptake. In either case, you'll know because you'll feel euphoric. If this happens from dopamine, the first time you'll feel euphoric, unless you're just like smoking crack, in which case you may get anxious immediately, but first you'll feel euphoric. If you feel euphoric, stop. You shouldn't be feeling really euphoric. You can feel a little better.
Euphoric for no reason.
No, you can feel a little, well, of course, I mean for no reason, but you can feel a little bit better. But if you feel like, oh, I'm having a wonderful day, this tesofensine is crazy, maybe it's a little bit too much for you to do. You should feel a bit better, but don't max out. We're going to talk about, the other drugs. So with serotonin, you do not want to take anything serotonergic. You can rely on the SSRI now. This is an SSRI also, and just forget about the thing. You don't consume tryptophan specifically. Never take 5-HTP. Avoid herbal extracts that are known to cause serotonergic effects. Like, really, basically, it's Kana and St. John's Wort. But I mean, there are other things that improve the serotonergic signaling, but they're not going to cause serotonin syndrome. So it's mainly anything that inhibits the reuptake of serotonin or is a precursor to it or causes its transmission. So basically anything that is a nootropic, just investigate while you take it, because it's a minor risk, but you don't want it to happen to you. And then about the adrenaline, I mean, if you take clenbuterol, which is an adrenaline receptor agonist, or you take ephedrine, you're going to notice that you're more anxious and you have a higher heart rate than you would have normally, basically.
So I'm just going to talk out loud as I think through what my tesofensine protocol is so that I can avoid having these side effects of too much neurotransmitters. So I like a lower dosage of tesofensine, like one pill of 500 micrograms, maybe 4 days per week, not even every day per week, because it's got a long half-life. So that's a low dosage of tesofensine, because I still want to take some of these other new
you can do that. Yeah, you can do that.
Stimulatory cognitive enhancers. Like I do want to take a little bit of Ritalin, for example, right? Small. I take very small.
By the way, there would be a reason to do that. So when we talk about tesofensine, for most people, we're thinking about people that don't do those things for cognitive enhancement. if I did have to take tesofensine, I would do the same thing. I would take a lower dose, so I have like a baseline level, and then I could do a circadian shift in the morning.
Yes.
Because I'm working in the morning, so I take the short release Ritalin. That's what I would do personally. Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing
the way
right
to think
now.
about it.
So like I had a cup of coffee this morning, but I know that because I'm on tesofensine, I'm going to be more sensitive to especially the adrenaline. So, but I do want to, I call it pendulum theory. I want to be really awake in the daytime, and I want to crash and have really good sleep at night.
This is
So
also circadian.
instead of just relying on tesofensine, elevating my levels all day, a little bit of tesofensine to elevate a little bit, and then more of the things that increase dopamine and adrenaline in the earlier part of the day, in addition to the tesofensine.
This is totally reasonable. Yeah, that's the way I would go about it. Hey, I hope you guys benefited from this. I like how the way Tony did. I didn't know what he was going to do, but I think it walks people through it, and hopefully people avoid hurting themselves. It's not very risky. You worry about serotonin syndrome, not being able to sleep, or potentially being manic. If you see these things happen, obviously serotonin syndrome, you should not let it happen. But with the dopamine, if you feel paranoid, if you can't sleep, just reduce the dose. Notice that the 1 milligram doses do much better in the studies, but remember this thing is synergistic. You could take the 0.5 milligram with naltrexone or with one of the GLP-1 agonists, and you could probably end up with 2 + 2 is 10 or something like that.
Be swole and swole, friends of freedom, pioneers of human evolution. A day natty is a day wasted.